School Board for Tuesday, April 3rd, 2018. May I have roll call, please?
Ms. Ellis? Here. Mr. Hart? Dr. Kennedy? Here. Mrs. Cocker? Here. Mr. Martin? Here. Mr. Negrini?
Here.
Mr. Wolf?
Here.
8 present, 1 absent.
Please rise.
To the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Maravich.
Public participation, announcement of public participation. There are 2 opportunities for the public to address the board. One is on agenda items, which is immediately at the beginning of the agenda. The other one, on non-agenda items at the end of the meeting. Pursuant to board policy and the Sunshine Law, is a 3-minute opportunity to offer comment on matters that are or may come before the board. It is not question and answer, but is an opportunity to provide that comment.
Thank you. I believe we have some members of our Wilson Theater Company here for a presentation.
Of Shakespeare's literature. And we also got the opportunity to do a workshop with one of the actors on West End, who we saw a show that he had been working on called The Comedy About a Bank Robbery. It was really cool. And we also got the opportunity to go around London on our own, obviously with chaperones, but we were able to see the other plays and musicals that we wanted to see. And we really got to know the culture of London itself and the food and the art and the museums, and it was just really an awesome experience. And so our next trip is scheduled for June of 2021, and it really is an awesome experience. So thank you, and that was our London trip.
Okay, so moving on. We didn't just finish, January was a while ago. We did The Good Doctor, January 11th, 12th, and 13th, and that followed the stories of Anton Chekhov, and it was a comedy, and it was just a really good time. So yeah, that was very successful. We had a new fundraiser that we just created. Sophia Mattis, our fundraising officer, headed up our bingo, which turned out to be way more successful than we thought it was actually going to be. It was just a great time, and we had a bunch of people. We made a lot of money off of it, so it really helped pay for the One Act Festival, which is for our senior acting and directing class. Each of the students directed their own show, like their One Act show, and 2 of our shows, Abigail White and Claire Carpenter, are going to Bucks on Monday, which is a festival where they show their shows, and then they get criticism and feedback from directors there, and they get to watch other shows and do workshops. And then another trip that we have coming up tomorrow is we are going to New York to see Waitress and Mean Girls Broadway, and they're going to do a workshop with the Waitress cast. So a big thing that we did this year is heading up it's bringing the high school theater companies together, and we had a social where we invited all of the schools to come, and we all got to meet each other, which is just such a great time, and do the same things that we love. And then Twin Valley headed up their own, where it was a showcase, because most of our musicals are on the same weekend, so we can't go all see one another's. So we got to showcase 10 minutes of our show and watch the other shows, which was a really great time. And then we had the state conference, which is what I talked about when I was here in November, where we took Godspell and performed it. And it was such a great time. The crowd loved it. And then in the corner, AJ Newton, she's our costumes officer this year. She became an STO, which is a state officer. And Abigail White was our state officer for like this past year. So that's 2 people in a row, which is a really big deal at the state level. So these are just pictures of us setting up the show and then doing the show, and then AJ in the corner. So our upcoming musical is Urinetown. I have the cast with me, so they're going to perform 2 numbers from the show, Run Freedom Run and Follow Your Heart. You guys have complimentary tickets in the envelopes at your little cuticles, so I'm going to invite the cast up now to sing Follow Your Heart and Run Freedom Run. So that was Urinetown. You guys, like I said, you have tickets. I want to thank you guys so much for letting me present this to you guys. And this is probably the last time I'll see you guys this year because I'm a senior. But I want to say thank you so much for everything and your support of the arts. But have a great night. Thank you.
Opposed? Motion carries. Payment of bills, Mr. Martin.
Payment bills of $1,121,047.02.
Thank you. Have a second? Mr. Case, thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Ehrlich?
Yes.
Ms. Ellis? Yes. Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker? Yes. Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
8-4, 0 against.
Thank you. Superintendent's report, Dr. Fadley.
Thank you, President Wolf. This evening I present to the board the personnel and program recommendations for approval.
I have a motion.
Ms. Ellis, Mr. Martin, second. Roll call, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker? Yes. Mr. Case?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. Under Human Resources 9.1, request approval for the $100 attendance bonus for the listed child care employees. Looking for a motion for that. Mr. Case, thank you. Second, Mrs. Cocker. Roll call, please.
Dr. Kennedy? Yes. Mrs. Cocker? Yes. Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mr. Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
8-4, 0 against.
Thank you. Under Pupil Services 10.1, request permission to contract with Opportunity School to provide educational services to one special education student at a per diem rate of $175 per day, beginning March 12, 2018, and ending the last day of the 2017-2018 school year. Do I have a motion for that? Mrs. Cocker, thank you. Second, Mr. Ehrlich. I'm sorry, could have done 10.2 right away. 10.2, permission to waive tuition for one high school student, grade 12, from February 5th, 18 until the end of the school year as per Board Policy 202, eligibility of non-residents. Do I have a motion for that one? Mrs. Cocker, Ms. Ellis, second. Any comment on any of those? Roll call, please.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker? Yes. Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mr. Ehrlich?
Yes.
Ms. Ellis?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
8-4, 0 against.
Operations 12.1, request approval for the change order for the Wilson High School softball dugouts from H.B. Fraser, an increase of $1,167 to add lights to the storage room. Looking for a motion for that. Ms. Ellis, thank you. Mr. Negrini, second. Roll call, please.
Cocker? Yes. Mr. Martin? Yes. Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mr. Ehrlich?
Yes.
Ms. Ellis?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
8-4, 0 against.
Under Finance 13.1, request approval of the retention of Kathleen Thomas, Esquire, of the law firm of High Swartz, LLP, for legal services as the district's mercantile business privilege tax hearing officer at a rate of $200 per hour. Do I have a motion for that? Mr. Martin? Mr. Ehrlich, second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Martin? Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mr. Ehrlich?
Yes.
Ms. Ellis?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
So the first one, the 19.1. All right, so we're going to break out 19.1 only. Request approval for the board to accept the review of policies 2, 4, 11, 100, and 105.1. Looking for a motion for that. Mrs. Cocker, thank you. Second, Mr. Negrini. Can we have a roll call for that, please?
Yes.
Ms. Ellis? Dr. Kennedy? Yes. Mrs. Cocker? Yes. Mr. Martin? Yes. Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
8-4, 0 against.
Thank you. 19.2, 19.3, 19.4 are all first and second readings, so there's no vote on those. Under miscellaneous, looking for a motion to request approval for the 2018-2019 school board meeting schedule. Do I have a motion for that? Mr. Ehrlich, Mr. Case, second. Roll call, please.
Yes. Yes.
Dr. Kennedy? Yes. Mrs. Cocker? Yes. Mr. Martin? Yes. Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
8-4, 0 against.
Thank you. Moving on to committee reports. Ms. Troutman, would you like to go first, please?
Thank you, everyone. I have quite a number of items to share under Wilson Good News. Members of our high school, family, career, and community leaders of America recently competed at the State Leadership Conference at the Kalahari Resort and had some wonderful results. In chapter Service Project Display, Morgan Bechtel, Emily Bechtel, and Lauren McKay all received silver medals. In Teach and Train, Larissa Dessing received a silver medal. These students also qualified to advance to nationals this summer in Atlanta, Georgia. So we congratulate these incredible students. Our Wilson West Jazz Band had an excellent showing at the Kutztown Jazz Fest. Congratulations to Outstanding Soloist Award recipient Zach Wendell and Ben Small, and to the Saxes for earning Outstanding Saxophone Section, and to their director, Mr. Hauser. Senior Krista Bryan was awarded the second place Stanley Seltz Award at in the Fine Arts category at the Berks County Secondary Art Exhibit on Sunday, March 4th. The exhibit, which was held at the Goggle Works, was sponsored by the BCIU and featured thousands of entries from 21 Berks County schools judged in 24 categories. Pretty impressive. This is super exciting. Wilson recently swept the You Be the Chemist contest with our students grabbing a first through fourth place finishes. So all of our Wilson students placed 1 through 4. Colby Snyder from Wilson West placed first. Aaron Z from Wilson Southern placed second. Sindura Shridhar from Cornwall Terrace placed third. And Aaron Kiladindi, I think I said that right, from Wilson West placed fourth. So there were 10 schools participating at the competition for a total of 45 participants. And the top 4 finishers of the competition are all invited to Penn State main campus on April 14th to compete in the state challenge. And I just think it's incredible that all 4 that were invited to the state competition are from Wilson. So we're super excited about that and wish them all the best. Got some things to share under public relations. Dan Sukanik, chairman of the Business Education Department, Christy Zipkowski, a middle school business teacher, and Dr. Amy Flannery were recently interviewed for a feature article entitled Teaching Kids About Dollars Makes Sense for High Schools that appeared in the Sunday, March 18th edition of the Reading Eagle. They discussed the programs that Wilson has in place to teach students financial literacy. It was a great article. Hopefully you had an opportunity to read it. Our 5th grade students at Green Valley Elementary School are changing the world. In social studies class, our students recently read A Long Walk to Water, a book about the lost boys of the Sudan. The book highlights the great need for clean water in Sudan, and they were very inspired by the book. So the 5th graders have been raising money for a well in Sudan, which culminated in A Long Walk to Water, where 5th graders walked a mile around Green Valley carrying a gallon of water to get a glimpse of the difficulties facing many in the Sudan daily. And this is amazing. Due to their efforts, they've currently raised $8,475, which is pretty amazing. The Reading Eagle actually ran a story about their project on Saturday, March 31st. I think that's just an incredible story for those students at Green Valley. And then finally, we're pleased to announce that there are going to be 2 concerts and a free musical performance to benefit the Wilson Scholarship Fund. The first is on this Saturday, April 7th at 2 at Wilson West Middle School, and will feature the Blackbird Society Orchestra. And the second will be on Saturday, April 14th at 2, also at Wilson West. and will feature the Roaring Twenties Jazz Orchestra. In addition, the Ben Mauger Vintage Quartet will play on Saturday, April 7th from 7 to 9 p.m. at the Circle S Ranch House, and all the donations from this performance will benefit the Scholarship Fund. Tickets are $15 per person for each concert or $25 to attend both, and all ticket sales will be at the door to the events. And then under the Wilson Education Foundation report, just a note that our next board meeting will be held on Friday, May 18th. Thank you.
TC, Mr. Case.
I unfortunately missed dinner because I was in transit for work for the BCTC meeting, but I was able to catch the cosmetology tour, which if anyone has been at the BCTC, it's a fantastic place. They have a cosmetology lab and salon at West Campus and the East Campus, and they actually open up their doors where if you would like to be a subject, the prices are at least maybe 20% of what you would pay in a salon. There were people getting their hair done, many different colors. I have a list here of all the prices. There was someone getting probably a $100 dual color dye job on their hair that probably someone in a salon would pay $100 for, and it's $30 at the BCTC. So they have, what do they call them, pedicures? I may sign up, but I'm trying to keep a distance between. I don't know. I may get a haircut there or two just to practice what I preach, and it's a great place. I always try and pick out and try and meet people from Wilson, but at the East Campus I couldn't find any folks there that night. Similar to what Karen was mentioning, the BCTC students are also involved and went away to the FSCLA Leadership Conference at the Kalahara Resort, and BCTC did send some students to the Nationals. But there were two students, Justin Snyder for Culinary Arts from Wilson and Derek Rowan Turner for Culinary Arts. They both got third place, not going to nationals, but they did really extremely well for representing Wilson. Our next meeting is April 25th, and I believe we're going to be approving the budgets for all the different school districts for BCTC for next year. And other than that, that's all I have for, it was a pretty casual, not casual, it was just sort of a standard meeting, yes. No major highlights.
Thank you. BCIU, Dr. Kennedy. Sure, yep.
Neither the BCIU committee or the curriculum committee has met since the last board meeting, so I have no reports.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Schlossman, Berks UIT.
Good evening. The last meeting was held on March 29th. Herbine and Company presented the 2017 calendar year audit for Berks EIT, in which they received a clean opinion. There was still the vacant officer position of treasurer, so I ran unopposed and I was voted in for that role. Keymark, who is the vendor who is building the Berks EIT's new tax system software, has reported regularly to the leadership of Berks EIT, and they have indicated that their project is on target with an expected implementation date of early 2019. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a quick update on our spring. Believe it or not, we got a baseball game in between 6 inches of snow. Unfortunately, or fortunately I should say, we won that baseball game as well. So the baseball team is at 1-0. Boys lacrosse is 2-2. Girls lacrosse is 4-0. Our softball team is 0-3. Boys tennis is 3-2. Boys volleyball 0-3. Boys track and field 1-0, and girls track and field 1-0. Facilities, Mr. Negrini. Mr. Ehrlich.
The Finance Committee met this afternoon, discussed a number of topics. First of all, we had a presentation on food services by Carol Gilbert, who is our consultant, if you remember, and is guiding us as we try to transform our food services here. One of the things that we discussed is with the relatively recent legislation regarding food shaming, one of the unfortunate side effects of this is that we have our unpaid meal balances has started to increase. In fact, since December, they've increased 350%. And we had a presentation on where those increases are coming from. Is it coming from students who have free or free and reduced lunch, which there is some increase there, but the majority of the increase are coming from people who are paying for their lunches are paid and have not paid their bills. So that's something that we're looking into because that is starting to increase. We've also looked at the breakfast and lunch and what the usage is by the students, and the good news there is that those usage is increasing for both breakfast and lunch as we've made some changes in menus and things like that. So it seems to be getting some better acceptance by the student body. Long way to go, but they are making some progress. Also looking at the financial aspects of the food services and staffing levels. We still need to make some adjustments there, but they are working on that. Food costs and also preparing a budget of equipment repairs that are going to be necessary in our food services. The other thing we looked at was major cost to the district is busing, and it appears at this point it is still cost effective for the district to continue to have the busing in-house as opposed to outsourcing, but it's something that we continue to look at on a regular basis. We also looked at where we are in the budgeting process and where things stand. We will be presenting the preliminary budget in May to the board, and that's well underway, and Christine and her people are working on that. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Just to add to that, I intentionally left
Yes.
this on my desk. Mrs. Schlosman, do you mind explaining to the crowd about these two introductions? I thought that was a great idea.
So as Carol Gilbert has been helping us come up with new and innovative ideas, we presented to the Finance Committee and then took the leftovers to the school board in executive session. Two initiatives. One is a parfait that has been introduced at the schools, high school, middle school, and elementary. The items that were selected for you this evening was strawberry, peach, and chunky monkey. The schools will be able to actually have a vote on what they prefer to have in their parfaits, and that is all National School Lunch Program compliant for breakfast. And what Matt has in front of him is something we're going to try to market as the Bulldog Power Pack, protein power pack, where we'll also have different components of protein and vegetables and possibly fruit and possibly even grains. And that will be marketed in our lunch lines, but also hopefully marketed to after-school activities for sporting, for teams who need to have their players have some energy, and also for even musical type of practices where maybe the students didn't get a chance to get home, but they really need something healthy with some protein. So it's a new marketing initiative we're going to try.
Thank you. That's why I wanted to take advantage of the free advertising. Thank you. HR, Mr. Ehrlich, with Mr. Hart not being here, do you have anything to add for that?
No, we've not had a meeting since our last board meeting. We have one scheduled for next week, but no
Okay.
report.
Thank you. Legislative, Mr. Martin.
Not much happening. They're on vacation or spring break, whatever you call it, what they do. But the House will return on the 9th, April 9th, and the Senate will return on the 16th. This is last week for hearings on the budget. Of course, everybody wants more money and presenting their plan for their particular areas that they're responsible for. I don't anticipate any problem with the budget this year. There's going to be a little heckling when they come back, but overall, I think there will be a budget by the end of June 30th. I did check the Supreme Court docket on the fair share. It's not on the docket until the next year starts. Their year starts a little goofy, but it won't probably be on there until September. So that's it.
Thank you. Technology, Mrs. Cocker.
the main focus or the main discussion point was kindergarten and first grade device updates, and we're looking into what device makes most sense for that age group. So moving forward, we're going to be comparing a couple of different devices with keyboards, without. And our next meeting is Monday, June 4th.
Okay, thank you. Sophia could not be here tonight, so she did email me a report under student outreach. I'll just read. Student government finished filling all 2,000 eggs for the YMCA egg hunt this past weekend. Also, student government elections are in full swing, and campaign posters will be hung soon. Lastly, Minithon overalls have been picked. I assume that's a person. An overall is a person. Have been picked for next year. Cameron Kavanaugh is the overall, and Natalie Boyer and Skylar Burnham are the two co-chairs. So that is her report under student outreach. Mr. Maravich, anything under solicitor? Okay. Okay, under public participation, Mr. Maravich, you want to explain how this is going to work?
It's a 3-minute opportunity for the first people who have signed up. Matt will call your names. Go up to the podium, and I will tell you when there's 1 minute left.
Okay, thank you. So we have several folks that would like to speak tonight. First, we'll have Kelly Ebner.
Good evening. My name is Kelly Ebner, Wilson class of 2016. I have sent each of you an email with my thoughts. However, my former teammate and captain, Jesse Wallace, was prepared to drive 8 hours round trip today to speak on Coach Meyer's behalf. Many Wilson athletes and community members are speaking up to support a man we have great respect for. We are asking that our experiences and thoughts be considered. I volunteered to speak for Jesse. I will read her message as she wrote it. Good evening. I've completed in 46 organized sports seasons in my lifetime, 17 Little League seasons, 6 middle school, 12 high school, and any free time in between was dedicated to 7 years of club and AAU athletics. I have also racked up 4 seasons of collegiate athletics, which will soon be coming to a close. I've been an athlete my entire life. Within a career like that, you come across your fair share of coaches, good and bad. After a bit of retrospection, it occurred to me that the number of coaches I'd be willing to drive 8 hours for to defend on a school night was extremely limited. Coach Meyer fell within that margin. I played basketball and threw discus on the track and field team for Coach Meyer from 2012 to 2014. During that 2-year stint, our girls basketball and track teams won a combined 4 county championships and 3 district titles, all of which Coach Meyer played a tremendous role in. I was also named the 2014 Berks County Female Athlete of the Year and received a scholarship to play collegiate athletics, 2 feats I couldn't have done without Coach Meyer's undying support, attention, and encouragement. He is a class act if there ever was one. To disregard that because of a mistake would be a huge blow to the Wilson School District and its athletic program. Overall, his intentions are good, and his actions have represented this school district well. People make mistakes. The good ones, own up to them. You have a good man in Coach Meyer. I would hate to see Wilson turn its back on someone as passionate, professional, and talented as him. Most coaches at the high school level leave as quickly as they come. It takes someone special to stay for long. It takes someone special to bring a program to life and to form dynamic relationships with each player each year. Not only does he excel at building trust and creating a competitive environment people want to be a part of, the man wins games too. If I know anything about the Wilson athletics culture, it's one that breeds champions. It's one that breeds elite athletes. To win, to hone those elite athletes, you need a strong coach. You need strong leaders. In Doug Meyer, you have an exemplary leader, a passionate mentor, and an honest person. There's not much more a school district, an athlete, or a community can ask for in a coach. Doug Meyer was born to teach, and he deserves to continue coaching here. He has his athletes' best interests at heart. He understands the value of hard work and discipline, but he knows how to have fun with it. He loves Wilson and loves sharing his passion for sports with every guy and girl fortunate enough to hold a place on his team. His feet aren't big, but I promise you won't ever find someone to fill his shoes. Wilson Athletics simply isn't Wilson Athletics without Doug Meyer. Thank you, Jesse Wallace, Wilson class of 2014. I thank you very much for your time and consideration.
Chelsea Lewis is up next.
So actually, I'm going to have my friend Talia speak first, and then I'll follow.
Hi, my name is Talia Spillerman, and I'm a sophomore here at Wilson. Thank you for allowing Chelsea and I to share our thoughts at tonight's school board meeting. For 2 years, I have ran on the cross-country and track teams that have been coached by Coach Meyer. Today, Chelsea and I want to speak to you about how firing Coach Meyer as a coach for boys and girls cross-country, girls basketball, and track was a mistake. Just to set the record straight, Coach Meyer did not ask for us to do this. We wanted to come here to speak to you tonight because we care about Coach Meyer, just like he cares about all of his student athletes. As you can see from all of the people here tonight who took time out of their busy lives to support the rehiring of Coach Meyer is not like any ordinary coach. He has a personality that makes track and cross country a welcoming and encouraging environment. No matter what any person's prior running experience is, he accepts them on the team and expects the same effort out of them. When he has conversations with us, we can tell he's genuinely interested in our lives. I have a distinct memory of when a group of cross-country runners were on our way to preview the state championship course. We stopped at a restaurant, and I remember at one point during the conversation, he was asking each of us our family background. He is truly interested in our lives. Coach Meyer is unbelievably knowledgeable about everything, from the dates of championships to the history of road names. Through Coach Meyer's daily trivia questions, we always learn new information about Berks County. Did you know that the road leading to Body Zone and Target is called the Road to Nowhere? And regarding running, his knowledge is irreplaceable. Because of his many years of experience, he knows what runs to do, at which points during the season, at what speeds, in order for students to be the best runners possible. Somehow, Coach Meyer sees potential in athletes that they cannot see in themselves. Multiple times, before meets, he's told me a time that he thinks I could run in an upcoming event, and I would laugh in response to the seemingly outrageous goal. Yet to my disbelief, I accomplished this goal. Thanks to Coach Meyer believing in me, I have started to have more faith in myself. For 60 seasons, Coach Meyer has been believing in his athletes. He's given his athletes seemingly impossible goals, yet with his guidance, these goals are able to be reached. The reason for Coach Meyer's last strike that led to his firing was because there was an optional track practice on a day where after-school activities were canceled. Chelsea and I are 2 of the 4 kids who wanted to go to practice. We would have run on our own outside anyway. Coach Meyer did not force any athlete to come to practice and do anything they did not want to do. Really, he was there for support. The past 2 weeks, we got a taste of what it was like without Coach Meyer at practice. We felt like a giant part of what compels us to run season after season was lost. We were missing a presence of knowledge that makes us know we are training the right way in order to have a successful athletic future. We were missing the pre-race advice that guides us on how to run a good race. In the track meet I ran in this past Saturday, us distance runners had no one to give us advice on how to most run each race effectively. But most of all, over the past 2 weeks, we were missing Coach Meyer's positive personality that encourages all of us to be the best people and athletes we can be. We urge the board to immediately reinstate Coach Meyer to all of his coaching positions. He should not be fired for being too dedicated. We really miss our coach, and we just want to see him back at practice as soon as possible. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Chelsea Lewis, and I'm currently a senior here at high school. Thank you again for allowing us to speak to you about how firing Coach Meyer is not cool. And so, for the past 4 years, I've been coached by Coach Meyer on the track and cross country teams. As Talia said earlier, we're going to speak to you about how firing Coach Meyer for the cross country, girls basketball, and long distance track team was a mistake. So Coach Meyer is an extraordinary coach in so many ways, especially regarding commitment to improving his team. He puts in extra hours to make sure we are the best runners possible and make the best team possible. When there are kids not running in a Saturday meet, he makes sure they still practice so they can also get better. When there are Saturday practices that athletes cannot make due to SATs or ACTs, he makes sure to have separate practice later in the day so these athletes do not miss out on the chance to become better. Coach Meyer has always seen the best in his kids. He wants them to unlock their full potential and have a successful future. When I entered high school my freshman year, I was intimidated to challenge myself. I took what I thought were fairly easy classes, and I ran cross country and track. In the beginning of the cross country season, I contemplated quitting because of how hard it was. At that point in my life, challenge scared me. However, Coach Meyer was able to show me the true meaning of hard work, dedication, and time management. He encouraged me to challenge myself, and when I did, I not only saw improvements in my running, but also in my academics. I decided to take more challenging classes the rest of my high school career and continue to get better at running. As a senior, I have seen how much Coach Meyer has impacted all my years of high school. Meyer and I have created a very strong connection. I would not be the person I am today without Coach Meyer's influence. And that's just my story. There are so many more past and current students Coach Meyer has impacted in a unique and positive way. I cannot imagine the rest of Wilson's running and basketball athletes not having this same role model. By firing Coach Meyer, you are not only punishing him, you're punishing the whole Wilson community. You're punishing the current athletes who have counted on him to help them achieve their athletic goals and team successes. You're punishing the seniors who have put their heart and souls into their athletic career and want to finish it with the person who has continuously inspired them. You're punishing future athletes who will not have the opportunity to be coached by someone with unbelievable knowledge on how to be successful. The success of the long-distance track, cross-country, and girls basketball will be at stake if the athletes are not able to be coached by someone with experience. Back in October of 2000, when the school board first hired Coach Meyer to be the girls basketball coach, Reggie Weiss stated that Wilson picked the right man. He brings all the right qualities to the program. Nobody's going to outwork him. He's right. Nobody has and never will outwork Coach Meyer. He has impacted athletes' lives irreversibly. We urge the board to immediately reinstate Coach Meyer to all 3 of his coaching positions. We just want our coach back at practices and meets. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Next is Robin Pruitt.
Good evening. I'm obviously not one of Coach Meyer's students or athletes, but I am a big supporter of Coach Doug. I think it's important to listen to these kids. They're smart, they're articulate, and they're passionate. I don't even know these kids, and I'm so proud of them to be a part of this community. They're great kids. My name is Robin Freeble Pruitt. I am a 1980 Wilson graduate, a lifelong Wilson resident, and a proud parent of 2 Wilson graduates. I'm a strong supporter of the Wilson School District. I'm not one to complain or create waves, and I've never spoken at a board meeting before. I am here tonight to show my support for Doug Meyer. I am one of those Wilson people. You know the ones that never leave the district, the ones that stand up for everything Wilson. People in the county call us Wilson people and don't necessarily like us a whole lot sometimes. I'm especially proud to be of support of teachers and coaches in this district who sacrifice so much of their time for our kids. Many of our teachers, coaches, administrators, and even some of you board members are Wilson people too. You came back to Wilson because you know how great Wilson can be. Doug Meyer is also one of those people. He is a true bulldog, and he loves nothing more than being at Wilson. He is a valued teacher, and he is a dedicated coach. He is a role model for his students, his athletes, and he is an all-around good guy. Think about all of the awful things happening in schools today. And now think about the mistakes that Doug Meyer made. We should be thankful every day that our kids are safe and in good hands with people like Doug Meyer. Please take the time to look at the big picture and all of the good Doug Meyer stands for and how proud he is to be a Wilson Bulldog. Please do the right thing and work with Doug and reinstate him to his coaching duties. Wilson has a lot of good coaches, and we're lucky enough to have a few really great coaches. Doug Meyer is a good guy, and he is a great teacher and a great coach. He deserves another chance. Most importantly, though, people should be listening to the kids, because they are the most important part of this, and they are the ones with the most to lose without Doug Meyer as their coach. Thank you for listening to me tonight. I appreciate you reading my email last night, and I hope that you make the right decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Christian Gagliardi.
Good evening. My name is Christian Gagliardi, and I'm a sophomore at Wilson High School. I've been a cross-country and track runner under Coach Doug Meyer for the past year and a half. When I learned that Coach Meyer was dismissed from all of his coaching positions at Wilson, I was extremely distraught and upset. Before high school, I used to play soccer and baseball, but I decided to give up those sports to run cross-country and track under Coach Meyer. In my first year as a cross-country runner, I didn't even run at the district race, but with the help and support that Doug Meyer has given me, I was able to be one of 3 Wilson runners to qualify for the state race this year. During the middle of the cross-country season, after I ran one of the worst races of my short career, Coach Meyer and I talked about what happened and helped me realize that I couldn't let one race affect how I was going to run the rest of the season. Later that season, at the district meet, when there were tons of people lined up across the course to yell for their runner in the race, but the only person I heard was Coach Meyer screaming at the top of his lungs, "Christian, you're perfect. Keep going." After that same meet, I truly believe that Coach Meyer was more excited than I was to have qualified for the state race, which is a huge accomplishment. Running is one of the most mentally challenging sports someone can do. But if you have a coach who loves what he does, it makes everything a lot easier. It's not just running. I believe that everyone in this room who has gotten the opportunity to meet Mr. Meyer knows that he doesn't do what he does for himself. He teaches for his students, and he coaches for his athletes. For these reasons, I believe that Mr. Meyer should continue coaching. I would also like to thank Coach Watterson and Coach Folk for their continuous efforts to fill in for Coach Meyer, although it's hard to replace someone who's simply irreplaceable. Thank you for your time and what you do for the students.
Thank you. Next is Lucia Gagliardi.
Good evening. My name is Lucia Gagliardi, and I am a parent of a high school sophomore, Christian, who competes on the cross-country and track teams, and a daughter who graduated in 2015. Britton is currently a junior at St. Joseph's University and is a scholarship athlete on the women's cross-country and track teams. The reason I am standing in front of you tonight is to address the dismissal of Mr. Doug Meyer as the high school track coach, cross-country coach, and basketball coach last week. This action was extremely disheartening to the student athletes, the families, and the whole Wilson community. Doug Meyer is an outstanding coach and educator who is committed to his students and athletes. As a coach, Mr. Meyer is able to motivate and inspire. His passion for basketball and running is contagious. Mr. Meyer knows his athletes individually by understanding their emotions, their strengths, and their weaknesses, which leads to Wilson team successes. Doug Meyer's successes goes beyond wins, county championships, district medals, and state titles. Due to Doug Meyer's coaching, his athletes, whether on the basketball court, on the cross-country trail, or around the track, gain the confidence and skill set needed to compete at collegiate levels. Coach Meyer leaves lasting impressions on his athletes to help them excel, not only athletically, but also throughout life. You might be asking, how do I know this? My daughter continues to talk about Coach Meyer 3 years after she graduated high school. Lasting impressions. I want the student athletes filling this room and on Coach Meyer's rosters to have the same opportunity to experience being coached by someone who is truly dedicated to them. Doug Meyer coaches your Wilson Bulldogs because he loves it. I never met a coach as strongly committed as him. He is respected by students, parents, and the community. As you know, it isn't easy finding a good coach. So why are you dismissing an outstanding coach? With that being said, it is in the best interest of not only the Wilson School District, but also the Wilson community, that Doug Meyer be reinstated as a coach for our Bulldogs. Thank you for your time, and again, thank you for all that you do for our students.
Thank you. Dr. Sherry Sanger.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to address the school board this evening. I'm a resident of the Wilson School District. I've lived here for 20 years, and I grew up moving all over the country, went to different schools every 2 to 3 years growing up because my father moved around a lot. And when I moved here 20 years ago to work for the Penske organization, it was important to me that I plant and find a place for my kids to grow up and succeed academically where they could do that in one place. And I looked at all the school districts in the area at that time and decided to land here at Wilson. I'm the proud parent of a 2017 graduate who is now succeeding very nicely at Pepperdine. I just got to visit her this past weekend, which I can tell you the weather there is much better than here right now. And she is a student athlete at Pepperdine just like she was here at Wilson. She was on the cross country and track teams all 4 years here at Wilson, is also a student athlete at Pepperdine, and is succeeding both academically and as an athlete right now, thanks to all the academic preparation of the Wilson School District, as well as the preparation, as a person and through athletics and all the dimensions that come with being a student here in the school district. I'm also the proud parent of a 4th grader who's with me here tonight at Whitfield Elementary School. And, as an academic educator myself at the collegiate level, I understand all too well, some of the dynamics that come with providing a well-rounded education and creating good student outcomes for students and preparing them for a future. I also understand that there's a framework needed to do that within, and that there are policies and so on that have to be set up as structure for that. What I can tell you about Doug is I'm obviously here to support Doug as well this evening, and I feel like I can barely compare to some of the words of the students that have been here tonight. But I can tell you when I visited my daughter this past weekend, this weighed heavy on her heart as she had heard about Doug's situation from her fellow teammates, who she was just a teammate with just last year. And I can tell you that Doug cares deeply about his students, not just as athletes, but as people, and really has strived to help develop them as people, as considerate teammates, as students who need to, learn all the aspects of being on a team as well as being good students. And what makes him really stand out to me as a coach is some of the dedication that he's put into working with the kids. So I grew up as a runner as well, participated in track and cross country, and I had a coach that would basically send us off out on runs and stand there with the stopwatch and wait for us when we returned back to the school. And I can tell you, Doug runs with these kids. He's out there actually running with them, and he takes the time to find places for them to run where they can do that in a way that's most successful for their training, but also their health and well-being. You see, for distance runners, it's really important that they have varied conditions, that they not run on the pavement all the time. He takes the time to take them to the trails so they can be on soft surfaces, which prevents injuries. I'd venture to bet, I didn't do the calculations, but if you compare some of the injuries on the Wilson team compared to some of the other teams in the surrounding area, we don't have a lot of injuries. And a lot of that is due to all the care that Doug puts into the program, the stretching he has them to do before, as well as doing things like taking them to these trails, getting them in these very conditions, which are what they will face during races. They'll face hilly conditions, they'll face all kinds of conditions, which very much mirrors life if you think about it. So he instills this sense of dedication, perseverance, and discipline. Chelsea and Talia shared with you tonight, and I can tell you my daughter would have done the same thing, that on a snow day, she would have run anyway, because at this point in their season, it's pivotal to their training as athletes. And my daughter would have run whether the team was running or not. And I have to say, as a parent, I'd rather she runs with some of her teammates. I always have, rather than she runs out by herself as an individual. So I understand that Coach Meyer was dismissed, following an event that involved having a voluntary practice on a snow day. And I'd respectfully ask that you reconsider the gravity of the measure. Again, I understand that the policies are in place for a reason, and understand that reprimands are often necessary. But to me, the gravity doesn't seem fitting with the impact that he's had as a coach and with the actual infraction that has been talked about tonight. So what I'd like to say is, bottom line, Doug has this quiet confidence about him that so many of us have learned to love and respect about him. He's not one of the loudest people in the room ever, and tonight so many of us are here to speak on his behalf, and he doesn't even know that most of us are even here. But I can tell you that the impact that he's had in the lives of his students, in the parents, and the surrounding community, that lives loudly for all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Michael Feudman.
Good evening, everybody. Like everybody else, I'm here to ask you to reconsider your decision to relieve Coach Meyer of his coaching duties. It's great to hear from a lot of current and recent student athletes tonight. It really, I think, shows a lot about what Doug brings to this district, brings to the coaching role. But somebody before me mentioned that he also has a lasting legacy, so I'd like to add a little bit more to that perspective. So I'm a 2004 graduate of Wilson High School. During that time, I ran a total of 8 seasons of track and cross country under Doug Meyer. During that time, he was an incredible mentor, a great influence, to such an extent that aside from my father, I consider him as the most positive influence in my life to date. Just yesterday, I heard from a former teammate about his current situation, and even being 14 years removed from my last days at Wilson High School, I knew that I had to be here, even though it involved going an hour and a half out of my way to be here to show my support. Today, with everything going on in the news, with all the bad things happening in this world, kids need great role models now more than ever. And in the context of that, I think it's unfortunate that we're here calling into question the character of a guy who's dedicated his life passion has been to mentor and to help kids through his coaching. I ask you guys to consider when reprimanding him, consider the scope of all the work that he's done over the years, all the lives that he's influenced, all the kids that he's touched, all the kids that he has yet to influence positively, and consider that as a whole when you consider your decision with him. I really believe that if you evaluate the circumstance in that light, that you're going to understand that this district is going to be a much better district with him as a coach. So I appreciate your time, and I really hope that you can reconsider your decision.
Thank you. Richard Willingmeyer.
I'd like to thank the opportunity to address the board this evening. I am here actually on behalf of my daughter, Allison, who is a 2017 graduate of Wilson. She is also a 8-season track and field and cross-country athlete. She had obviously heard of the situation and requested that I come on her behalf and speak to everyone. She writes this: "Success is not arbitrary. Success is the outcome of having a purpose and desire to reach a goal. In life, we set goals and strive to achieve those goals. This is a process that is repeated over and over. During my time with the Wilson School District system, I have been taught to have a purpose, to show desire, and most importantly, to set goals. These are the fundamentals for success that I was taught to adhere to, both in academic and extracurricular activities. The teachers, the coaches, and at all grade levels reinforced what it takes to be successful. I was taught that we should always strive to be our best and never settle for mediocrity. Mr. Meyer, the teacher, and Coach Meyer, my cross-country and track coach, is the same man. Meyer is no different in the classroom or in the field of play. He is committed to encouraging you to have a purpose, to show desire, to set goals, and to ultimately be a success. I know this from the countless hours I have spent with him in the classroom and on the field. He is one of the most phenomenal people I have ever met. I can honestly say this man has had an enormous impact on my life, helping to guide me towards reaching my early successes. I also understand that, like me, my former teammates know what it takes to be successful. Sure, you can do the minimum to get by, but in order to do and to be something truly great, be someone truly successful, you must push hard and not settle for good enough. Coach Meyer taught us this day in and day out. He worked out alongside of us. He stood among us, equally sweaty and tired from the day's workout. We learned what it meant to be a success from the example he set in his work ethic and from his encouragement that motivated us in the tough times. We were taught never to give up, and we knew if we fell short of our goals, he would always have our backs. Mr. Meyer, Coach Meyer, let's not choose one. Wilson's Meyer has had and will continue to have one of the greatest impacts on my life. It is my hope that Wilson's Meyer will continue to have the ability not only to coach sports, but to continue to coach the lives of his athletes and students, shaping them into the individuals that represent both Wilson School District and our community proudly. I'd just like to step back from a moment and just ask anyone else that's here to support Coach Meyer to stand up and just show everyone here that we're not here to challenge the district and their decision making. We're here to offer that maybe there's a bigger picture. Maybe there's more to this that needs to be looked at. We feel as though that every situation requires to be looked at from a couple different angles, and we present ours. And we thank you for the opportunity to give you that angle. And we hope that you can take this information and make a decision that's for the best of all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. While this board appreciates this community's passion about all of our teachers and coaches and our students and our programs, unfortunately, this is a district personnel matter that cannot and will not be commented on in public. But thank you for all being here tonight. Is there any other business from the board? Dr. Kennedy.
A bunch of my former students, some were with the theater, and some came to speak up about their coach. And I want them to know that I'm super proud of them, and I want you to know that you should never underestimate how proud your teachers, your former teachers, are of you, and how every time you do something good or we see your name in your paper, we go, yay, I taught her. So I'm especially super proud of the students who came up and talked about something that they believe in.
And that's what I taught you, and I want you to keep doing that.
Any other business from the board? Okay, with none, looking for a motion to adjourn. Mr. Ehrlich, second. Ms. Ellis, thank you.